The jury in the Sean Combs trial has delivered a partial verdict to the judge. Jurors say they have reached a verdict on several of the counts that Combs is facing, but have not reached a consensus on the first count. So let's get right to NBC's Chloe Melas and our legal analyst, Angela Sandella, joining me now to hear how this played out. Chloe, tell us, what are you learning from what the judge has told the court?
Hey there. So I just came out of the overflow room where I was watching a camera of Combs' attorneys huddled around him. Combs looked incredibly disappointed. He had his head down at the floor. His attorneys, actually some of them embracing, but not looking positive, looking very stressed. They also handed him, Mark Agnifilo, his lead attorney, handed him the juror's note. And you could see Combs at one point rubbing his eyes. Right now, we know that the jurors are unable to reach a verdict on count one, and that is the racketeering charge, the RICO conspiracy. That is the most complicated charge that Combs faces. Not only does it carry up to a life sentence, there are 8 predicate acts. Prosecutors had to prove that Combs committed at least 2 illegal activities on that list, and I'll tell you what those were. Those include kidnapping, arson, bribery, witness tampering, forced labor, sex trafficking, transportation for purposes of prostitution, and drug distribution. You know, yesterday we did receive a note from the jury asking about drug distribution, wanting that law reread to them. You know, this is very interesting. They've been deliberating for almost 2 days. We know that they have reached a verdict on those other counts that you spoke of. And what are those counts? Well, those are 2 counts of sex trafficking. One when it pertains to Cassie Ventura, his girlfriend of about 11 years, who claims that Combs forced her to participate in drug-fueled sex parties known as freak-offs. Prosecutors have to prove force, fraud, or coercion when it comes to those charges. The other one pertains to Jane. Now, that is not her real name. She testified under a pseudonym. She actually dated Combs up until his arrest in September. And there are those 2 counts of the Mann Act, transportation to engage in prostitution. We heard from several escorts taking the stand. We know that Combs paid for those escorts on some of his own credit cards. And the question is, did he use company money to pay for some of those acts? You know, also, this is very interesting. The judge is now asking the jury to go back and deliberate. He has told them something called an Allen charge, right, where he wants them to go back again and try to continue to deliberate. But we know from this note that there is more than one juror who is, as of right now, unwilling to change their position. Now, you know, something that's really interesting here is that I was in that courtroom almost every single day, and I had my eyes on those jurors. And I have said all along that I did not think that they would reach a unanimous verdict on RICO. That is because during some of the testimony from the prosecutor's witnesses, remember they called 34, several of them appeared to look not in agreement with the prosecution, some smirking, some appearing to roll their eyes during different testimony. So we knew that this was always going to be difficult for them to reach a unanimous verdict. Now, when I was in there for closing arguments, Mark Agnifilo, one of Combs' defense attorneys, his lead defense attorney, delivering closings on Friday, and at one point eliciting laughter from the jurors and the courtroom. He said that Cassie is actually the winner here, that she was the one that walked away with a $20 million settlement. Remember, this all started when Cassie Ventura filed that explosive civil suit against Combs in November 2023. That was the first time that anyone had heard that she had been in a violent relationship with Combs. And during her testimony, 4 days on the stand, heavily pregnant with her 3rd child, she testified about years of physical and emotional abuse. We saw photographs of her badly beaten over the course of her relationship. But really what this comes down to is consent. Do these 12 jurors believe beyond a reasonable doubt that Cassie and Jane were forced to participate in these freak-offs? There were damning text messages from both Cassie and Jane saying that they wanted to participate in these freak-offs. We even heard in closings from Mark Agnifilo call Cassie and Combs' relationship a great modern love story. So again, we do not know what the verdict is on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, but on one, the one that carries up to a life sentence, they are still having to deliberate on that.
And Chloe, do you get a sense that the judge will hold the verdicts and not reveal those while he is intending to have the jurors go back and press on and do more work on that count that you described as being perhaps hard? Well, we know it's hard because they've told the court they can't reach a unanimous verdict, and it's hard in part because it is the sweeping enterprise of a criminal conspiracy, not just the interpersonal conduct that some of the other counts are dealing with. Do you get a sense that they'll go right back to work today, or will they come back tomorrow? Do you have any of those sort of tick-tock moments for us?
You know, it's hard to say because, you know, they deliberated until 5 o'clock yesterday. They have the right to keep going. We know that they don't have court on Thursday and Friday, but that potentially, you know, they could continue to deliberate if they want to. You know, I will tell you, this is what the judge just said. He said, can you both send me your proposed instructions, meaning from the prosecution and the defense, send to Chambers' inbox, meaning their email, and we will take it from there. We have three options. Defense suggesting to keep going. Second proposal is some version of a modified Allen charge, right? That's to tell the jury that it is their duty to continue to deliberate. And a third option, at some point, the court advises the jury to return a partial verdict. But I don't think we're at that stage. Let me tell you something really interesting about that. This is very reminiscent of just a few weeks ago when I was at a courthouse right around the corner, but it wasn't federal, it was state. And it was Harvey Weinstein's criminal retrial. Remember, he was first tried, Harvey Weinstein, in 2017, his conviction overturned, and he was retried. And the jury could not reach a verdict on one of the women. Okay, so you had a hung on one with Jessica Mann, you had a guilty on another, and a not guilty on a third. So again, you could see the jurors sticking to their guns, saying that they are very far off here. And it sounds like it is more than one juror, but it looks like potentially today they may stop deliberating and come back tomorrow. But again, this is breaking, very significant news that they quite quickly came to a verdict on counts 2 through 5. But on that racketeering conspiracy charge, it is the most complicated. I do want to also tell you that some of Combs' family have arrived. His daughters have just arrived. He's had about 6 of his children. He has 7 total, the 7th being the youngest, an infant, at the courthouse a lot. And we saw them all there, all 6 of them, during closing arguments. They've been a united force. And someone that's been in that courtroom nearly every single day is Mama Combs, his mother. And just a short time ago, I actually shared an elevator with Mark Agnifilo, the lead attorney for Combs. I shook his hand. I spoke to him for a few minutes. He seemed calm, cool, and collected, like he always does. And that was what he knew. What I didn't know was that there was another note from the jury, and he was making his way to the courtroom on the 26th floor of the federal courthouse right there behind me. I also just want to describe the scene for you right here in front of the courthouse. It's raining, as you can see. I'm getting drips of rain on my face. But there are a lot of people now gathered outside. I like to call them citizen journalists. They are people that are streaming all of this coverage day in, day out for the last 2 months on TikTok, on social media. A lot of influencers here. Some people are wearing Free Puff T-shirts. We know that one of his children actually wore a shirt saying Free Puff the other day when he went into the courtroom, and he's not supposed to do that, and he had to change. But again, the feeling down here, palpable. People are fascinated by this trial, and obviously this has been over a year and a half since Cassie first filed that civil suit, and we have been waiting for this moment ever since.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.